All right, so we're going to move on to some of the questions that we've got on Instagram. Adam put a little post out asking for anything. Just going to open up to everyone. We're going to start off with, let's go for CJP Edits. Now, obviously, we've just spoken about all our transfers that we'd like to come in or people we've been rumoured with. But he also asked us one player that we'd be happy to let go. So a bit of a toughie. Is there one player from our current squad that you'd be happy to see leave during this transfer window?
I'm only laughing because I know who you're playing.
You know who I'm going to pick.
Go on, Tom, you go first, out of all of our squad.
Oh, it'd be someone that, is not getting a sniff, but would maybe bring in a decent transfer fee. I'm just trying to have a think, really.
You got people like Grzycki.
Yeah, Austin,
who could bring in a bit of money. Yeah.
You could maybe get a mil and a half maybe for these guys' championship team, because Forest were close to buying Grzycki, weren't they, for about a mil, I think it was.
Yeah.
It's tough, isn't it? I'd say Austin. I think Grzycki, I honestly do still think Grzycki could be brought off the bench and do a job. Like if we just needed a bit of fresh legs down the wing. I honestly don't understand why he hasn't been used in that capacity.
No, he's doing it for Poland, isn't he?
Well, yeah. I've watched him a few times for Poland in the in the qualifiers and the cup thingy now. I don't know what it's called, but
Nations League.
Nations League. That's it. And he's been fantastic for Poland. Yeah. And the Polish fans, they can't believe he's not playing for us. And I just think he could be a really good impact sub. But they're just Bilic and Allardyce. They just don't fancy him, do they? For some reason. So, but for me, I'd say Austin, because I think maybe we could get a bit of money back for him, and he's
something.
Yeah, I think he's too far down the pecking order. I think I think Carnew's a better option than Austin. And we're going to bring in a striker this window, I think, for sure, aren't we?
We're getting Josh Windass, so problem solved with him.
Josh Windass, that's it.
So you just put the money straight into that. The idea.
Yeah. I'll go Austin then. That'll be my pick.
Adam, have you got one?
Out of performances wise, I wouldn't mind seeing Ivanovic move into a coaching role rather than a playing role, only because I just don't think he can cut it at this level anymore. There's been quite a few times where he's been massively undone. The first game when he came in, he looked like he was going to be that leader at the back and have O'Shea and Ajay next to him and say, you need to be here, you need to be here. You've got the legs, I've got the knowledge. But fuck, Jesus, it's just not worked out, has it?
I was so excited when Ivanovic signed, honestly. You can go and look at my post. I was buzzing. I was like, oh, Ivanovic. I was like, I can't believe we've signed Ivanovic. He'd still been doing well for Zenit. Was it Zenit? I think.
Yeah, he was at Zenit, yeah.
He was cleaning up with them. They were winning titles and cups and stuff. And I was thinking like what you just said, that he'd be great to come in, play alongside Ajayi, O'Shea. They could learn off him and he'd be that leader. But it's just not worked out, has it? And I'm genuinely gutted about it, because I was so excited when he came in.
Yeah, same here.
But the Arsenal game was just it was terrible, wasn't it? He was all over the shop, and I wouldn't mind seeing the back of Ivanovic. But maybe a coaching gig. I don't know. Just
to get the wages down a bit. But that was my only thought. Go on then, Dan. I can't guess who you're going to pick.
Romain Sawyers. Last season I didn't hate him. I thought he was pretty decent, did an all right job. But at the end of the season, he started dropping off, and since we've been in the Prem, he's done nothing but wind me up. And it's more just because every time I see him on the starting lineup, I just get angry. And just in the last few games, he's been rubbish. Scored possibly the best own goal the Premier League's ever seen. Romain Sawyers. God, I'm done with him.
I'm going to defend Sawyers here. All right, I'm going to defend Sawyers. Sawyers is just, I think personally, he's a very strange player, Sawyers, in that there has to be a very particular way of playing and team around him for him to do well. And when we were dominating games under Bilic in the Championship last season, he was just pinging the ball about for fun, pulling off ridiculous passes, picking it up off the defence, that kind of quarterback kind of position, isn't it? I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, when we started off going, in that bad run towards the end of the season, and games were getting scrappy, and you need people to step up and get stuck in. He's just not that. He's just not that kind of player, is he?
No,
and now we've come to the Prem, and we're the team who's got 30% possession. Under Bilic and now under Allardyce, he just doesn't fit, does he?
No.
He needs to be in a team that's on top, dominating possession, get plenty of ball on the deck. Yeah, I feel sorry for him because I think he's just been playing under Allardyce because we're so short on numbers in midfield, and I think as soon as Allardyce brings in some players of his own, I can't see Sawyers featuring much whatsoever.
I feel sorry for him as well because I recognise him as, like you say, someone who could pick a pass out in the Championship. He was really good at that.
He was great
and
last year.
And just holding back and then seeing the pitch and just doing his magic. But the other thing that frustrates quite a lot of Albion fans from what I've been seeing on our social media, and you can tell me differently off yours, but he's not he doesn't work. His work rate's poor, isn't it?
Yeah.
He does just mumble around the field, and that doesn't, like someone like Berbatov who can do that, but then score a worldie, people will accept it. But for Sawyers to do that in the centre of the park, you can't do that in the Prem, can you? You can't you need to be like a Gallagher running around like a headless chicken trying to tackle everybody.
He's one of those players that you just let. You say to him, well, I'm not bothered about you tackling. You build your team around him so he doesn't have to tackle. He just gets on the ball and tries to ping his passes and link up play and stuff. Yeah. But a team like us coming up to the Prem, you can't afford to have people, just a passenger. You can't afford to have people like that in your team. Everyone needs to be able to get stuck in and fight, in the middle of the park. And it's a shame as well because he's obviously a diehard Albion fan, isn't he? He's a local lad. He was at the club when he was young.
And it was another signing when we got him from Brentford. I thought, oh, brilliant. He's come back. He's gone out and he's built his experience up, and now he's going to come in and have that spot for years. And I don't think he can quite cut it in the Prem. I don't think he's quite that level. I think he's a very, very good Championship player. But like you say, he just needs that bit more time, doesn't he? So,
yeah, agree.
Yeah. There you go.
So there's yours, Dan. Well done.
Yeah,
he's just thinking in his head, we're just talking absolute rubbish.
I heard noises. I saw your mouths moving, but I just heard like white noise because I was just like, I hate him. Dan Eduardo 06, I hope I've said your name right, has asked, is Allardyce the correct manager for us? And this has sort of been doing the rounds a little bit recently. Tom, I'll let you lead this one. Is Allardyce the correct manager for us?
Put me on the spot there.
I have put you on the spot.
This is going to surprise some people. I think he's the right kind of manager for us at this moment in time. I didn't want Bilic to go. I was a massive Bilic fan, but I did say around the time that I understand the logic in getting rid of Bilic and maybe going for someone who can, potentially get the defence sorted, get us a bit better organised, and grind out some results, just I can understand the logic of bringing in someone like that. I wouldn't personally gone for Allardyce. I think I said at the time, I think Nigel Pearson would have been a better fit, especially because he obviously got ties with the club when he was Brian Robson's number 2. Obviously a lot of people are calling for him to be sacked already, and I just think it's absolutely absurd,
Yeah, same man.
It's too early to call something like that.
Yeah, I think, I can understand why they brought in that kind of manager. I don't like Allardyce, I think that's pretty clear, to be honest, but I can understand why they've done it, and I think bringing in that kind of manager is probably given us a better chance of staying up. I wanted Bilic to stay, even if, and I wouldn't have been bothered if we went down under Bilic and tried to rebuild under him. But, I can see why they've done it and brought in a manager like that to try and stay in the division. Yeah.
Yeah. Ads, your thoughts?
I kind of echo what Tom just said. I didn't want Bilic to go. I thought he was brilliant for the club, not just for like us playing on the pitch and how we played. in the Championship especially, but like just for around the club and his interaction with the fans. He was loved by all, wasn't he? So it was a real shame to see him go and the board fuck him over, basically. But yeah, like Tom said, I can see why Sam's coming. We said Nigel Pearson in one of our videos. I was really big on him coming in because look at the job he did for Leicester as well. Ranieri won the season after he got sacked, which was all his kind of what he built.
Yeah.
So I'd have preferred someone like Pearson coming in, but yeah, you can see why Sam's come in. Is he the right guy? Only time will tell, won't it? I think we're judging him a bit too quickly as well. I think even I can say that I've been quite critical of him, but I think Tom mentioned it on one of his Instagram posts. He hasn't really had a training session with them. He's not had a big window for him to get to know his squad. So he's got 2 weeks now, hasn't he, with the Blackpool game before Wolves, where he can get some training sessions in, tell the players where he wants them to be, see if he can get in a couple of his own, and then that's when we can really start judging him, I think, on how well he's going to do. So, yeah, I'd say I can see why they brought him in, and yeah, he is one person that could keep us up because look at his record. So,
yeah. I think once he's done some business, then we can properly start judging him because he's essentially managing another guy's team, really. So he's just got to get a few players in, see how he does with it, and yeah, hopefully he can keep us up. But,
the only negative I've got on Sam is the way he speaks about his players. I think he needs to reword it because he's throwing them under the bus, isn't he, basically? Whereas you need to kind of not say it. You say it in a particular way, can't you?
I think with the particular bunch of players, in our squad at the moment, I think the way he talks, more experienced teams, with maybe an older average age, I guess. I think they can maybe see what he's trying to do and take it on the chin a bit. But I think we've got, in terms of Prem experience, I think we've got quite a young team, really, haven't you? If you look at it, and I think, I agree 100%. Some of the stuff he's coming out with, I just wish there was someone there telling him just bloody, just keep quiet, just shut up and just bloody get on with the task at hand and just stop saying these silly things like that Grealish comment. Honestly, I just couldn't. I don't know what. There was absolutely no. There was going to be no positive outcome of that comment whatsoever, other than to embarrass the players. And if that's what he thinks is going to work, well, I don't think it is, to be honest with you.
No, like the likes of Austin, Gibbs, people like that might be able to take it and go, okay, right, yeah, we've got to get our, like you just said, get our asses into gear. But the younger players, like the Pereiras, the Dean Garner, especially foreign players, they might be looking at it like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Bilic has had his arm around me when I've played crap. You're slagging me off to everyone.
Yeah. It is old school.
Yeah.
Old school way of doing it. Russ asks, of the players out of contract this summer, who would you keep? And we've got there's quite a few players. I'll list them off. We've got Carnu, Bartley, Townsend, Gibbs, Austin, Edwards, Ivanovic, Peltier, Bond, and Grzycki. There's 10 players. Anyone standing out
Ivanovic.
that you would want to keep? Who would you want to keep?
Sorry, keep. I definitely want to keep Carnu because I think he's a different option for us up front, and he's just something different to what we've got. I know he's getting on a bit, but I really like Robson Kanu. Townsend, 100% we've got to keep. If he comes back and hits that form, I think he's one that we've definitely got to keep. Any others, Tom, that you think?
I think, the club have obviously got to be thinking there's a good chance of us obviously going down. So they've got to have one eye on us potentially being in the Championship next season. And there's probably a few of those guys who'd be good players to have in a Championship squad, isn't there? From those ones you just said, the three I'd keep would be Carnu, because I think he'd do a job for us in the Championship, someone to good have in the squad. Townsend, it's just, it's heartbreaking that he got injured because he was just like stepping up, wasn't he? He was playing really, really well. Just as that was happening, he obviously got injured. It was really disappointing. But yeah, Townsend, I think, deserves a deal. And Edwards, I'd give Edwards a deal, because I think if we were to go down next season, I think some of those youngsters who, haven't had much of a sniff last season, this season, we might have to rely on them, I think, next season, quite heavily, the likes of Harper, Edwards, Field.
Yeah.
I'd like to keep all those guys if we did go down, because I think they could be, good players for us in the Championship. But I think the rest of them, I wouldn't be too fussed, to be honest with you. The rest of them going, I'd like to keep those three. But
yeah, I agree with both of you. Yeah, Kanu, Townsend especially, is like you say. When Gibbs went out, there was a lot of me that was just thinking, oh, great, we've got Townsend. That's all we've got now. And the first game he came in, I was thinking, wow, he's actually like working his arse off and playing really well. And Edwards, like you say, he's one of our kids. I always get it mixed up. Harrogate at the start of the season, we played against Harrogate. I thought he was fantastic, but not being put in the first team, I think is a bit of a waste of the player, and he should get more opportunities. So, yeah, he'd be someone I'd want to see renewed.
I just don't know why they've not loaned Edwards out. He's one I just keep saying, why didn't they just loan him out? He's not this season. Even with the players, I know we've not played very well, but you look at who we've got in front of him, I just think he was never going to get much game time. So why didn't they just loan him out to a team in the Championship where he could have played every week? Would have done him the world of good. Same with Harper. Definitely. The same with Harper. I just think, why? I'm hoping maybe this window we see a couple of, if we make some signings, maybe they'll let a couple of these youngsters go out, because I honestly think they need it at this kind of stage of their career.
Yeah. I mean, Field went out to Charlton last year, didn't he, on loan? He did really well there. So, yeah, I'd like to see Field a bit more, if I'm honest. He's one I'd love to see a bit more in our midfield.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, some slightly lighter questions now. Not so driven on the transfer windows and stuff. Johnny Pow asks, what's your most prized piece of memorabilia? If you have any.
That's a good question. I've got two. I'll tell you my two. My one is quite a random one, to be honest. Years ago, me and my dad decided we were going to bid for one of the Poppy shirts. The Poppy shirts.
I bid for one of those as well. Yeah.
So it was after Wigan away, I think it was. And anyway, we went online and we were looking at the bids, and we were like, oh my God, like the money is crazy. So we were like, let's have a look who was on the bench. So we were looking on the bench, and in the end, we went and won. Remember Luke Daniels?
Oh yeah.
It was a goalkeeper. He was with us for years, but he was like third choice for years. He went out on loan a few times, but he randomly in that game, I think it was Foster was injured, Bose Mile played in goal, and Luke Daniels was called up to the bench. So we ended up winning the bid on Luke Daniels' Poppy shirt.
Nice.
And then the other one I got was from last year, actually. They auctioned off the NHS shirts, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
And again, me and my dad said we'd chip in together and we'd try and win one of the shirts. And we won Raheem Harper's shirt.
Nice.
So both of them are like signed, and they've got like the NHS logos on Harper's. And so, two quite random players, to be honest, aren't they? But
yeah. Well, mine's pretty much the same as yours. I was one of the, I can't remember if it was a Poppy shirt, but they auctioned off one that, I think it was the first team, when we had the QuickBooks signing where we had like the pinstripe shirt.
Yeah.
The first team had signed that, and I managed to win that. I can't remember how much I spent. Far too much, probably. Yeah. But it was, but that's pretty much the only West Brom memorabilia I actually have, apart from, just replica shirts and stuff like that. Yeah, we did at some point. We had grass from the pitch, didn't we?
We did, yeah. From when we were youth. We only got some grass off it, didn't we?
Yeah, it was when we got.
I think I ran down, and I think Lee Hughes was walking around the side of the field, and I went and had a photo with Lee Hughes, and I grabbed the grass. Oh, and we grabbed the grass when we went onto the pitch, didn't we?
We ran onto the pitch when we. Yeah. Was it when we drew with Arsenal, or was it when we stayed up, or something like that?
I think we drew with Arsenal, didn't we, or something like that? And we all went on.
Big game. Yeah. So we ran onto the pitch. Just everyone runs on. So while we were down there, we just sort of a little bit of grass sorted. Don't know where it's gone, but some grass somewhere in the house that's Hawthorns.
I don't know where that is. I don't think I've got it anymore, if I'm honest. But my bit, I've got a signed shirt from Stephen Reed when he was at the club. He was hanging around outside afterwards, and I said, "Oh, can you sign my shirt?" And, yeah. So that's my only bit. My missus don't let me have it on the wall.
No. I remember at Mum and Dad's old house.
Yeah.
We had a room where we just had it lined.
Yeah, with
all
all
the various Albion shirts and all nice canvases with people, but
yeah.
all gone now. All gone.
Yeah. I need a man cave.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
West Brom man cave.
Yeah.
Harvey Norton asks, favourite West Brom player you've ever met?
I'll go first.
Go on.
I met Andy Hunt when I was really, really little. Outside the ground, I think it was just me and Dad went to the ground to get, I don't know, maybe a replica shirt or something. And he was walking around the outside of the ground, and he was my first moment. Have you seen the video of Wayne Rooney when he meets that kid in the tunnel and he looks up and he goes, when you notice it's Wayne Rooney? That was me with Andy Hunt. I was just like, oh my God, it's Andy Hunt. It's Andy Hunt. That was my first, first ever moment of meeting a player.
What about you, Tom?
I've got two really random stories, to be honest with you. But
let's hear them.
The first one, I met Darren Moore, and I don't know if you remember, he was like, after he stopped playing football, he become like a devout Christian. I don't know if you ever read about this. He started doing loads of charity work. He's really, really religious. And anyway, I was still at secondary school at the time, and my RE teacher told me that he was coming to the school, but he was coming to speak to the year below. And he was going to come into their assembly, and he was going to talk about, I think he'd walked the Big Wall of China for some sort of Christian charity. But he was going to talk about, how, faith had helped him through his career and stuff like that. And he was going to do this talk. And anyway, my RE teacher, she knew I was like a diehard West Brom fan. And she said, look, I'll try and get you into the assembly. And I was like, oh, please, miss. I was like, please, I just want to come in and sit there. And, because he was a hero of mine, Darren Moore.
Yeah.
And anyway, she pulled it out of the bag. She said, look, I've got you into the assembly. So I kind of just got taken in towards the back. And anyway, he finished doing his little talk, and he said, has anyone got any questions? So anyway, all the kids had these written, questions given to him, which was all to do with religious studies and being a Christian and all this stuff.
Sure.
So they were asking all these questions, and I thought, oh, screw it, I'm just going to put my hand up and see, hopefully he picks me. So anyway, I put my hand up and he pointed over, and I saw some of the other teachers realise he's not meant to be here, he's not from this year. So anyway, I said to him, how did it feel to score against Crystal Palace when we won 2-0, and we obviously pipped the Wolves to promotion that famous season? And he said that, oh, I'm glad someone's asked me a football question. He says, because they were getting a bit heavy, all the religious questions that he was getting answered. And he just said, oh, it's fantastic. I love the club, and it holds a special place in my heart and stuff. And and then at the end, my RE teacher, she was an absolute legend. I'd brought with me a program, and I don't know if you remember, they used to have the posters of the players in the middle of the program.
Yeah.
So I'd rooted out a Darren Moore one, and he recognised me from the assembly that I'd obviously asked the question. So he was talking a bit of football, and he signed my
mate.
He signed my program. So that was absolutely fantastic. He was an absolute legend. And this one will make you laugh, because you just mentioned Lee Hughes. But anyway, I used to play Saturday football, and we were in training, and the game at the weekend, we got told we were playing this prison team. We used to play quite a few prison teams on a Saturday. So I can't remember what the prison was now, but you know where this is heading, don't you?
Yeah.
So we obviously get there, and then honestly, there was like a little kind of tunnel, almost like a tunnel leading out to where the pitches and stuff were, and there was guards everywhere and stuff. And we're all standing there, we're waiting to go out. And I looked, I was like, is that Lee Hughes? Is that Lee Hughes? And then one of the lads in my team said, oh yeah, did we not mention that we played these guys before? And yeah, Lee Hughes plays for him. I was like, I'm a bloody massive West Brom fan. I was like, you could have told me. So anyway, I ran out onto the pitch, and I was just like, I used to play centre back, and I was just like starstruck. And randomly, he played centre back he started off anyway at centre back for the prison team.
Oh, okay.
So I was absolutely nowhere near him for most of the game. And then early on in the second half, one of their players got sent off. I think we were winning like 2-1 at this point. Anyway, one of their players got sent off, and they just said, "Oh, put Lee Hughes up front."
Brilliant.
And I was just like, "Oh my God, Lee Hughes! You know, he was a hero of mine when I was a kid growing up watching the Albion." So I was like marking Lee Hughes. I'm not messing about. He tore us apart. He scored like 4 goals. He still because after he come out of prison, he started playing, didn't he, for League 2 conference teams and stuff. He was unreal. Just like he still had his pace, his finish about. I think he scored 4 goals, and then at the end when we were shaking hands, I told him like I was a diehard West Brom fan. I used to idolise you, when you played for the Baggies, and he was like, "Yeah, sound," and just trotted back off to his cell. It was so random.
Cheers, mate. I'm going back to serve my sentence.
I got back, I told my dad, he was like, "You're joking." I was like, "No." I said, "I marked Louise second half of the game, and he ran me ragged, scored 4 goals past us in about 20 minutes.
That's amazing.
Proper meme machine, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, it was proper meme machine, but yeah, 2 really random stories, but
oh, that's wicked.
Yeah.
I like that. The only sort of interaction I've ever had with a West Brom player was the shop that I used to work at in Coventry. My boss lived next door to Boaz Myhill, so if I ever had to go to his house for anything, and Boaz was coming out the door, I'd just be like, "What?" That was it. That's the only intro. I never even properly spoke to him. That's the closest I've been to one, apart from one on the pitch. My story's rubbish. Yours are much better. You got to tackle Mark Lee Hughes.
You can't.
They are so random. And trust me, I always, I've told those stories too many times to West Brom fans. I'm just like, I'll tell you about the time I played football against Lee Hughes in prison.
That's awesome. I love it. We've had quite a handful of questions come through from Arty Inspired. So we get back on the heavy stuff now, guys. If we were the manager, what immediate changes would you make? Starting lineup. We've obviously spoken about transfers that we, realistic or people we'd like to see in, but what immediate changes would you make to our first team squad? Anyone you'd drop? Anyone you'd bring in?
I'd like to see our youth given a bit more go, the likes of Field, Harper and Edwards, like we've mentioned. I think if they do, because I know he said he's going to play them, play fringe players in the Blackpool game. So if they play well, I think you've got to give them a go in the first team, because they're not going to do any worse, are they, than what we've got at the minute. That'd be one of the things I'd be keen for.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Bring some youth players in, try out Grzycki, like you brought up earlier.
Just give some of us a chance. Yeah, just give some of us a chance. We've been, other than that Liverpool game, we've just been getting beat, comprehensively, haven't we? We've been getting thrashed, basically. And I never get it. I just never understand it. Obviously we don't see what's going on the training pitch, but how can you keep playing the same guys that are just getting thrashed every week? They can't, we haven't scored. We're terrible at the back. If you were one of those guys on the bench, you'd just be raging, wouldn't you? Because you're like, well, what have I got to do to get a chance?
Especially Kipra coming in. We've signed him because we wanted to, obviously we thought he's good enough. And then the defence hasn't been, like the likes of Ivanovic has been quite poor. And he can't even get a shout. Just give him a go.
Doesn't make sense. Just, like you say, we've got this game against Blackpool that he's going to try out the fringe players. Any of them that, if there's anyone on the pitch that just sort of stands out above the rest, just try them out in the first team against Wolves. What's the worst that's going to happen? We're going to get the scorelines the same as the last few games. Or if it's a 1-0 against them, then it will be like there's an improvement. Cool, something's changed. But yeah, I think it just needs to swap out some of the deadwood, really, and start giving some other people a chance.
Yeah, I think, I've been really, obviously we talked about Sawyers earlier. I've been really surprised that he's been retaining his place and that he hasn't just given Harper, or I don't know if Field's 100% fit yet, but if he is, why he's not giving Field a go, or even like a Jai, because he used to play midfield, like defensive midfield for Rotherham before we obviously bought him, and then obviously giving someone else a chance at the back. Yeah, It's been a bit baffling, really, why he hasn't mixed things up. The same could arguably be said for Bilic as well. He was kind of persevering with guys that were underperforming, and there was a lot of people calling for him to mix it up, weren't there? And he wasn't. So
I don't think it's going to do good for the players that are getting smashed each week either, is it? It can't do much for them, like their morale, can they? Like, you thought, oh right, the likes of Grant, like starting him ever since we've got him in, really. I think like maybe a couple of games ago, just put him on the bench a bit. But obviously he's out for 6 weeks now, isn't he, Grant? We had that news, I think it was yesterday. So, yeah, definitely a striker.
Oh, yeah. He also asks, if relegation was imminent, would you sell Johnston and bring Palmer in as first choice? Alex Palmer is at Lincoln. And are there any other sacrifices that you would make to prepare, i.e. getting rid of maybe some star players or anything like that?
I think if we go down, I think I'd cash in on Johnson, because I can't see him signing another contract because he's proven his Prem quality now, hasn't he? And if we're not going to be there, he's going to want to move. So yeah, I'd probably cash in on Johnson. And Palmer, I think, let's give him a go. He did wonders at Argyle the season before. He had a really good season. I think he won Player of the Season, I think, in that league. And he's continued it for Lincoln. He's been getting clean sheets. I think he's one of the top 6 keepers in the whole world of clean sheets, isn't it? If I'm wrong. So yeah, why not give him a go? Yeah,
and then it's bigger players. What do you do about your likes of Pereira, Diangana? Move them on, get some money for them, so then when we go down, we've got a bit of money to buy in some reinforcements.
You think that depends on if Sam's still manager?
Probably.
Because I think if Sam went down and he stayed on as manager, I don't think Pereira and Diangana would want to play that sort of football under him. Whereas if we went for like an Eddie Howe type player in the manager in the Championship, they might thrive under someone like him, maybe.
That's the question, isn't it? Because I was surprised. Not long after Allardyce was appointed, he come out and said, he wants to keep this fantastic record he's got of keeping teams in a division, and he'd be gutted if we went down. But then he'd like to think he'd be capable of bringing us back up, to try and soften the blow, I guess. I was a bit surprised by him coming out and saying that because he has signed a 2-year deal, hasn't he? There might be clauses in there where we can maybe reevaluate things if we do go down, but he has signed a 2-year deal. So yeah, for me, if we do what Norwich did last season, where we're down with 6 games to go or whatever it is, then you got to start thinking, well, who's not potentially going to be here? Let's start mixing things up and giving others a shot to see if they can do a job for us in the Championship next season. Definitely. But at the minute, I think the only player that anyone would actually want from us if we were to go down at this moment in time is Johnston. I honestly don't think Pereira and Diangana have got ability, undoubtedly, but they've done nothing really, have they? They've done nothing. They've been a massive disappointment. I put something on my page earlier because Grant, he's been, they call themselves Albion fans, but they've been ripping into him. He's injured, and people have been going, "Oh yeah, great, he's useless anyway," and all this kind of stuff. But Diangana and Pereira have seemed to completely avoided any sort of criticism from the majority of Albion fans. I don't get it. They've been arguably our 2 biggest underperformers. High hope. We had high hopes that they were going to be our key men.
Yeah, definitely.
Do the business for us, and we all thought that they were capable of doing it, but they've flopped, haven't they? Really?
Yeah, especially the amount of money we spent on Diangana as well.
Yeah.
It's quite a surprise. I mean, Pereira, I think we did quite well with that deal. I think that was a bit of a bargain, if I'm honest, to the player that he could develop into. But yeah, the Diangana one, I've been quite surprised how he just doesn't seem with it, does he? It's just not the player he was last year.
Yeah.
It's just getting used to the Prem again, isn't it? Just getting used to the standard that's needed, and maybe they aren't cut out for it. Maybe it's just a learning curve for them.
Yeah, maybe it's they haven't got good enough players playing around them. I sometimes think with Pereira, they just aren't. Some of them just aren't on the same wavelength as him, are they? Some of the balls he plays, and the runs. You can see him looking for people to make runs and stuff. But maybe if we can make some good signings this month, we might see an improvement. From those guys perhaps, but so far they've been poor, haven't they? So
Yeah.
We can hope. We can hope we can see an improvement. Albion fans need it. We've kind of already answered this one because we were talking about the transfers, but Artie doesn't want us to sign anyone, doesn't want to sign like a fourth choice 33-year-old who's going to cash in. I'm guessing we all agree with that sort of thought process. Like an Ivanovic.
No point. Yeah.
And more importantly, why don't the youth get more opportunities? It's a hard one to answer, isn't it?
I can understand. It's one of those. It's so tough for a team like us, where you come up and everything is focused on staying up, isn't it? And when it comes to young players with a team like us, there's obviously a high level of risk involved because they're inexperienced. They've got to build that experience up, haven't they? And playing at this level, and there's a certain amount of time they need to kind of get up to speed. But when you're a team like us, you haven't got that. You can't afford that luxury, can you?
Yes, it's not like we're a Chelsea or a Man United that are an established team that can go, let's just chuck in a Rashford or a Greenwood, and then, oh, look, they're actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Because those guys as well, they can hide almost. If they don't put in a good performance in one of those teams, well, they're still littered with superstars. So, they can have a bad performance and it might not make much of a difference. And they've got some experience out of it. But for a team like us, we need every one of those guys on the ball, just to scrape a result.
Yeah.
And, I can understand it. It is tough. It is really tough. This is why I can't understand why they just haven't sent them out on loan, like I said earlier on in the video. I just think if you're not going to play them, you're not going to play them. Just get them out on loan and let them get some first team experience under their belt in the Championship, because the Championship is such a tough division, isn't it? And it's good level, good quality football played in that division. So that's what I'd say. Just get them out on loan if they're not going to feature.
Yeah, give them the challenge of the Championship, because you look at like some of the bigger clubs that have sent their boys down there, like a Harvey Elliott, whatever, and they're thriving down there because they get the first team because they've come from the Prem, and they just get the experience, and then when they come back, whether that's to us in the Championship or us in the Prem, they can be a shoe-in when we've had to get rid of all of these, all the contract players that have run out,
Even with us in recent years, look at like the likes that we've got in like Harvey Barnes, people like even Dean Garner and Pereira. We had all these great loan signings coming in, and they played week in, week out, didn't they?
Who knows?
That's it for me. I can understand why they don't give the youngsters minutes in the league, but I just don't understand. What's the point of them just sitting? They're not even on the bench. What's the point of them just sitting back at home watching the game? Just get them out there, get them out on loan for a Championship League One team.
Get them learning.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. I think that's all our questions. So thank you very much if you sent them in. Tom, thank you so much for joining us today. We've greatly appreciated your company. It breaks it up. Means we don't have to argue all the time and talk to each other.
No, I've really, really enjoyed it. Again, thanks for inviting me on.
Where can people find you?
Well, at the minute, I'm just on Instagram at the moment. So, Baggies Bulletin on Instagram. I'm kind of thinking this year maybe, branch out a bit. But, just at this moment in time, it's just strictly Instagram. So,
excellent. Everyone who's watching, make sure you go there and sub to Tom. Make sure you subscribe to us. Hit the like button. Our socials are on the page as well. And we will see you next time, which will be after the game against Blackpool.